In today's video, I thought that it would be fun to do a palette bingo with the only 2 palettes in my entire eyeshadow palette collection, which I have not yet used in 2024. These 2, Paradise Islands from Nomad and the Wilderness palette from Beauty Bay. Now, I went through my whole YouTube set list. I also went through every single while I was out, and I checked off every palette that I had used in 2024, and these are the last 2. They're the last 2, so I figured doing a palette bingo would be a great idea to use both of them, have some fun, challenge myself, because if I haven't used them yet, maybe they just haven't been exciting me. I mean, I have a lot of beautiful eyeshadow palettes, honestly. A lot of newer ones came in this year rather unexpectedly, and I figured, hey, something might be keeping me from using these palettes, or maybe they just haven't gotten the time, so let's give them the time. I have an app on my phone called Tiny Decisions. It's the wheel I use for my palette pull-in, but it also has other features where you can randomly draw numbers. So I did that. I started with the Paradise Islands palette 1 through 18, and I'm gonna show you the number results and swatch them in real time. I haven't even looked at these colors yet. I literally just pulled the numbers and sat down to film, so I'm gonna swatch them as we go and try to figure out my color story. I was thinking that if I wore like a neutral-ish shirt, it would be safe, but given my first number, I'm not convinced. First, we have number 16. The shade is called Whale, and this is a really lovely blue shimmer. Is it full shimmer or is it more of a satin? I guess it's a satin. It's very, very light. This is Nomad's older formula, so it's not quite as impactful as their newer stuff, but it's still pretty. And I remember using this when I used the Paradise Islands for my palette pull-in. I remember this shade being quite a bit more dynamic than I was expecting. So that's shade number 16. The next number that was pulled was 17, and that's this one right here, Seashell. So far, not at all working with my shirt. I need to change my shirt after this. I pulled 6 shades for this video because I figured usually I do 5 for palette bingos, and because I had 2 palettes, I figured it was 4 or 6, or I could do 5 and then pull in whatever I wanted. There are options. We have options, but I pulled 6. So there's the shade Seashell next. It is a lovely color. It's just not gonna work with my shirt. And then finally we have the shade number 8. 6, 7, 8. Ooh, Tiki. This one is closer to my shirt. I'm moving in the right direction. Now that's beautiful. That is so beautiful. Does this color story not remind you of that Unearthly palette? Not Strange and Unusual. Oh, what's it called? The one with the like ghostly woman on front, and the front of the cover is like a periwinkle. I'm gonna find it and I'm gonna put it up when I'm editing, but that's what this reminds me of. Now in the Wilderness palette, my first number was 6. So 5, 6, okay, Forest. Again, still moving in the right direction. Forest is a beautiful, I'm gonna say like a very green leaning teal. It does have some blue in it. Can you see that hopefully? It does have blue, so it's teal, but it definitely is a slightly more foresty, green leaning teal. Quite deep, quite pretty. It's a good deepening shade for what else I'm working with. The next one pulled for the Wilderness palette was 11. So this is 5, 10, 11. Here we go. Lime. Okay. Feeling a little bit better. My shirt might not be a total mistake. Lime is a beautiful, beautiful, limey, slightly deeper than lime green shimmer. It's gorgeous. My kid's calling me. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So this is what we've got so far, and the final number pulled for the Wilderness palette was number 2, which is the sky blue shade called Sky. All right, that's actually very pretty. That's a really pretty color story. Up until I added these darker green tones, it was very much reminding me of that palette. It's really pretty. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with it. I think that I'm gonna probably go with my first option. Usually I have like an immediate, okay, this is what I should do with these colors. And then I think, but wait, what else could I do? And I like to do that because sometimes my second option, my second course of action pushes me a little bit more and I get something more interesting. If I were wearing a black shirt, and I could always go change, but I'm not going to. If I were wearing a black shirt, I would probably try to play more with these colors just to see how I could challenge myself to do something less expected. But that's not the case. So let me think about this. I've already primed my eyes with Glamly Icing Primer. Everything I'm using per usual is in the description box, and we'll zoom in and get going. All right, I've got a plan. Let's see how this goes. With a medium blending brush, I'm going first into Sky from the Wilderness palette. I'm going to run this through most of my crease. I think it's a beautiful color. I am so proud of myself. I'm sorry, I just have to say, I'm so proud of myself that I've only got 2 palettes in my entire collection, which I've not used yet for the year, including new palettes that have recently been brought in. And we're a little past the halfway point, you know, we're in September now. But I was just delighted that I've got a collection of 40 or 50 palettes, and I have managed to use all of them except 2. I think that's pretty great. And I'm actually even a little more surprised. Is surprised the right word? I don't know. I'm just pleased that among those, like I said, even the newer ones, if I got a new palette, I used it. I used it right away. It's not sitting unused, box of shame sort of thing. I've actually used every single new palette that has come in, whether somebody gave it to me or I got it in PR or I personally bought it from MERCARI or new. I have used every new palette at least once. I'm just really pleased because I want to make sure that my collection is something I actually enjoy. And the fact that I was able to go through the whole thing and intentionally use everything without a specific plan. Like I didn't make a list and go down the list. I just happened to use with a little bit of foresight maybe, thinking, well, I haven't used this one in a while, let's play with that. I've used everything. I'm really, really pleased with that, about that. Okay, now the shade Forest in Wilderness, that's the right one, yeah? Yeah, Forest. With a smaller blending brush, I'm gonna deepen out here. So far this is looking very blue, but I'm hoping that the green tones will shift things around a bit. I mean, don't get me wrong, a blue eyeshadow look is gonna work nicely with a green shirt, probably. It might depend a bit on undertones. Now this Wilderness palette is actually one that was kind of at risk. I had included this in a recent video talking about palettes I was definitely decluttering, and then I had a few mentioned at the end, which I was considering decluttering. And Wilderness was in that, but then when I opened it, like talking about it in the video, I opened it and I said, no, I'm not ready. I'm not ready to part with it. It's such a great palette. It's got great memories for me. It's given me so many beautiful looks. It has a fantastic, fantastic color story. So many palettes, you look at the color stories and you think, okay, maybe I would have done this different, or it could have used a blank. But Wilderness, there's only one thing I can think of to improve the Wilderness palette. Let's do, okay, I have to remember the rest of my plan. I'm gonna go into the lime shimmer with my finger, and I'll put it in the center. I don't want it to take over. I just want it to be very, very present, but not too present. So mainly in the center and slightly over to the inner, or the inner half-ish. But now I think, and this is actually where I had changed my mind, I was going to use this purpley blue shimmer from Paradise Islands, Whale. I was going to use this as an inner corner highlight. And then I thought, but it's going to be more interesting if I combine it with the green because they're almost unnatural together. And that's exactly why I wanted to do it. Let's just see what it looks like, right? If it's a mess, we can take it off. If it's a mess, it will be a failed palette bingo. And honestly, if that's the worst thing about my day, I'm doing okay. I think I'll also load up the edge of my finger and tap this in as an inner corner highlight. I was thinking of using the lighter green matte there, but now I'm thinking the lighter green matte into the blue, purple, white shimmer into the green is going to be weird. I thought that might be a little bit too broken up. So I'll just include it here and I'll change my plan. That's fun though, right? Let's go back into lime just to carry it slightly further. I just want the shimmers to work together nicely. I think they are. I think they're working together fine. And I'd love to deepen the outer corner even more, but I didn't pull a dark enough matte for it. All right, thus far I've used 1, 2, 3, and 4. I haven't used the limey green matte or the purple matte. So, go into the limey green matte called Tiki. which is basically a matte version of the Lime Shimmer from Wilderness. I mean, they're like exactly the same. And it is a color I love. Quickly with a smudger brush, or something like it, I'll go back into Forest and try to bring that to the lower lash line a little bit in the outer corner. Just a bit. It's not really deepening a lot. It's not the deepest shade that I could have gotten, but it is something. So I'm glad that my numbers generated some kind of range in depth. Back now to Paradise Islands, and we'll pick up this purple matte. Clean off my brush. The purple matte is Seashell. That's gonna be an easy match to my inner corner. Ooh, really pretty too. And it's also making the look a lot more interesting because all of a sudden we're pulling in a totally different color. Even though it's close to the one I have over here, it's still so different from the green and the teal tones. I think it's pretty. What do you think? Does that work? I'm seeing a tiny bit of patchiness right here. I feel like maybe my primer didn't apply quite evenly there. So I'm going back into Wilderness to pick up, I think, the light blue matte very, very lightly. It'd be really easy for me to go overboard with this, but I just want to make sure that it is in place here. So I'm tapping it in place, and then I'm just buffing and softening the edges a little. I'm not going to be windshield wipering like that, because that might, especially with all the other shadows that are happening now, it might wash it away. The only time I've ever gotten patchiness with Beauty Bay shadows is when I build. When I start with the lighter color and then I build on top of it, which is exactly what I did here, because I started with the blue matte and then I did the tealy matte over here, right? That is what I did. So right here where the two colors cross, I got a bit of patchiness, which now that I think of it, perfectly explains that. Probably not a primer, it's probably just the formula not wanting to build. Again, I addressed it by tapping and softening the edges, not trying to wipe. Yeah, I think that's good. I'm gonna take this same brush, it's all cleaned off. I'm just gonna go into the Snow shade, which is not part of my palette pull-in, but I wanna put it right here. Yeah, just a little bit, just a tiny, tiny bit, to help that color it's not really a soft blend into my skin because I don't have blue skin. There. I think that's pretty. I'm gonna do the other side and be right back. So here we go. The look is all finished. What do you guys think? I'd love to hear your thoughts. I always enjoy talking to you. You know this. Honestly, it's a really pretty color story. And I'm very excited that I got the greens and the blues, which helped me tie into my shirt, but also that I got something that was totally different, that didn't tie at all into my shirt. And this is the fun, the delight of palette bingo, is you get some stuff that you might never ordinarily pair yourself, even if you're trying to be extra creative or trying to push the envelope. Sometimes our brains just don't go there. And it's fun to have random chance bring us there, because we get to experiment and be creative and just, I don't know, see how something works. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. That's how it goes. So I think this is lovely. I think it's pretty, and of course I would like to hear your thoughts. I need to wash my hand because I'm pretty sure that I'm gonna be smearing things everywhere, all over my clothes and over everything else. Let me tell you what I did to finish off. In my waterline, I wanted to use white, but my white is one of those regular pencils you have to sharpen, and it was broken and it was a little bit too jagged to be putting near my eye, so I ended up going with black instead. I do have mascara on, and then on my lips I'm wearing the Italia Deluxe liner in the shade 1064 Hazelnut. I lined the lips and then I kind of filled them in, and then the ColourPop lip oil in the shade Hay. And then finally on my face, I have the Juvia's Place Festival palette. I used this as a blush and this as a highlighter. So I think I put too much on, at least more than I'm used to. I feel like I need to go wipe my face a little bit. And this side may be heavier than this side because of the lighting situation where I have shadow on one side more than another. But anyway, That's the gist, and of course, I appreciate hearing your feedback. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for giving me a little piece of your day. Be sure to check the description box below where everything I'm using is linked, or at least mentioned if it's not readily available. But also, I've got a palette bingo playlist, which I'll link down there and I'll card above for you if you're curious. Perhaps you'll consider liking and subscribing if you like this sort of content and you want to see more. And I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye.